Let me ask you, have you ever wished you could sit at a table with other smart, driven designers and window treatment pros and just talk through the challenges in your business? Not in a giant ballroom, not at a keynote where you leave with a notebook full of ideas, but a real conversation, real coaching, and real clarity. That's what happens at my Power Talk Friday events. On October 24th at High Point Market, this is 2025, I am bringing 5 powerhouse experts, Shayna Polino, Andrea Libros, Eileen Hahn, Amber De La Garza, and Donna Hoffman for a full day of clarity, strategy, and connection. And here's the thing. There are no 2 Power Talk Fridays that are ever the same. Every lineup is brand new, so every single time you walk away with fresh insights and breakthroughs that you didn't even know you needed. The other thing about a Power Talk Friday is I always say, if you've been to one, you got to go to another one, right? They are exactly different, just as I said. But here's the other thing. When you go to a Power Talk Friday, even if the experts were the same a year or 2 or 3 or 4 years later, you're ready for different information. Have you ever listened to a podcast episode and thought you got a lot of information from it and then listened to the same episode 3 years later when we rerun it or something and you're like, my gosh, I didn't realize that. I didn't pick that up the first time, because you grow, so your ability to capture information grows. So please, if you are a Power Talk Friday alumni and you don't think you need to do it again, think twice. You're the person who knows how great this is, okay? And here's the thing, up to 18 seats only. That's it. No more than that. So we want this ratio of experts to you so that we can give you quality time and information. All right. So if you're ready to step out of the weeds and into your CEO role, I want you to go to powertalkfriday.com and sign up now. And then I will see you October 24th, 2025 in High Point. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Today, I'm welcoming back to our podcast here, Reed Humphrey. You might remember our first conversation in episode 194, where Reed and I talked about Alder & Tweed, his high-end interior design firm that he runs with his sister Heather. At the time, we discussed how their firm focuses exclusively on luxury vacation homes and has carved out a niche market working with high-end developers in resort towns like Park City, Aspen, and Jackson Hole. What stood out to me then, and still does, is the level of excellence, precision, and business savvy that Reed and his team operate with. Now, you may be familiar with the name Alder & Tweed, the furniture company. That is run by Reed's brother, Ryan. It's a little confusing. And yes, the names are the same because it's all in the family, but they are actually 2 entirely separate businesses. Reed and Heather lead the interior design company while Ryan runs the furniture business. And just to complete the family business tree, their sister Lindsay, she's also an interior designer and the founder of Side Door. So when I tell you Reed comes from a family of entrepreneurs, I mean it. Every branch of that tree is building something. Today, Reed is here with a sponsored show to talk about yet another company, a new company that he has started called Dezign Assist. And let me tell you, it's a game changer. Dezign Assist is a staffing company that places experienced interior designers as remote team members inside your design firm. These are not entry-level VAs or administrative assistants. These are designers trained to do the work that's clogging your plate and your team's plate. FF&E, CAD, vendor communication, install prep, elevations, renderings, you name it. And here's what makes Reed uniquely credible. He's not just building a staffing company. He's built this solution inside his own interior design firm over 5 years with a remote team now of 20 plus designers through Dezign Assist. He knows exactly what a design VA needs to know how to make your business more efficient, more scalable, and more profitable because he lives it. I'm happy to have Reed back on the show. Let's get into it. Hey, Reed, thanks so much for coming back on A Well-Designed Business today.
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness, was it, you would think I would have looked it up. Was it 2016 or 17 when we met? I don't know. Do you?
I don't know if I want to know. I know I've got more wrinkles. I can tell you
That's it. I have more gray hairs. I can tell you that.
Yeah, it has been a while though.
Yeah. So when you were first here, we were talking about Alder and Tweed, and we were talking about the design firm that you have out there in Utah, right?
Yeah.
Like I just went bang, wanted to say Colorado, but Utah.
Yeah.
But now you've got this new thing. Like, I love your family. First of all, Mom, Dad, your sister, I haven't met all the sisters and brothers, but I've met you and Lindsay.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you what, you're just a bunch of firecrackers. Like, it's literally like, we have another new idea and it's another amazing one and we're going to go make it a business.
Yeah, we are a true family business. That's for sure. And it's for better or for worse. But I honestly, it's mainly for better.
Yeah.
But we like to be innovators and we like to be creative, and we're constantly bouncing ideas off each other, and just the whole family dynamic I think just makes us better because we're brutally honest with each other. So it's fun.
Well, it's funny because my brain is saying, maybe we should do a podcast one day on working with family because, my husband and I sold our company Window Works to my daughter and her husband. They're the majority shareholders. And then there's other partners. But literally once a week go, LuAnn, it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to convince them of everything. You still have to eat dinner with them and babysit their children. Be quiet.
Yeah. No, that's so true. It's funny though, in this industry in design and furniture, it seems like it's very heavily concentrated in family-owned businesses.
Yeah.
It's just
I have to say it was easier for me to argue with my husband than it is my son-in-law and daughter. It was much easier for me to argue with him. I mean, we had rules of warfare. We knew where the line was. Yep. Don't cross it. You know what I mean? And we also knew we could go all the way up to that line with gusto and then be like, and where should we go for dinner? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no, totally.
But it's tougher with my kids because they look at me like, I can't believe it. I'm just like, oh my God, I was just passionate about my idea.
Yeah. No, that's so true. And my kids aren't quite at that age, but I would say with my team members, my employees, I have a tougher time being as honest with them as I do with my family. Because I know
my problem is I don't have the hard time being honest with my kids. I have the hard time doing it nicely.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's like we have a saying at Window Works, LuAnn is not yelling, right? Like, I'm just like a crazy lady. I'm like, rah! And they look at me. Yeah, and they look at me like, well, there's no need to get upset. I'm like, who's upset? I'm not upset. This isn't upset.
Yeah. Oh, I hear you. Yeah, it's just the passion.
But Vinny knows I'm a lunatic. So Vinny, he just takes it all and he's like, all right, crazy lady. But anyway. Okay, so we're here to talk about Dezign Assist, this new business of yours. And, do you want to just is there context that we should know in regard to Alder and Tweed that impacts Dezign Assist? How do you want to start this out, Reed?
Well, maybe we kind of last time, we spoke about specific to Alder and Tweed. And I think people get confused, so I should probably just kind of clarify. I think most designers know Alder and Tweed as a wholesaler, which they've seen at market, whether that be High Point or most recently Design Edge or Vegas. But Alder and Tweed actually started as an interior design firm, which myself and my sister Heather manage. And that's kind of how we began. And then my brother Ryan started kind of our wholesale business. And so he runs, Alder and Tweed, wholesale that you see at the markets, but two separate businesses. So,
Right.
but
But the
last time,
same name.
same name. We liked the name and we kind of wanted to build the brand, so we just stuck with it. So, um, but it's been good. And, but with that, last time you and I talked about just Alder and Tweed interior design and kind of, what made us different and what got us to where we were and all that stuff. And how, I think, the main point we hit on last time was the fact that when we got into interior design is we decided that what was going to make us different is we were going to focus on vacation homes.
Yes.
And that's what we do. And that's why
Back before that was a thing.
that actually, yeah, it was before like Airbnb and VRBO. They were around, but it wasn't as big. People weren't investing heavily in trying to rent out and all that stuff. So it was, it was kind of before. Yeah, you're right. It was a thing. So
Yeah.
but that's
Because
why
now it's like, we've got Jessica Deuce and others that teach vacation
Sure.
rental designers how to do it at whatever scale they want. But
Right.
you were like the first person that I remember talking about it, like, and also at that super high luxury level as well, right?
Right. You're exactly right. And honestly, there's like when we got into the business, we realized there are so many like good designers out there and in the markets we're in, like what's going to separate us, what's going to make us different. And we just said, hey, we're going to go after the vacation market and just, find ways to make it easier for people who are remotely located to furnish and design their vacation home or, and so that was kind of our shtick, and that's what we continue to do, and that's why we're in the markets we're in. We're in Park City, Utah, and we have an office in Big Sky, Montana, and then a small office kind of Hudson Valley, New York. So
Interesting.
But I think it's that's kind of where Dezign Assist stemmed from, is just from a need we had in Alder and Tweed in our interior design firm, essentially.
So Dezign Assist now, this is, look, VAs for businesses are not a new thing. And of course, since COVID, they've become even more prevalent. But VAs specifically trained to support an interior design business. This is your lane, and this is the nuance in this that separates you. Tell us about that, Reed.
Yeah, and honestly, we are the only ones who offer a staffing solution for interior designers. And we do that because we know and understand the business. And honestly, I've been doing it for 5 years. And we've kind of figured out how to do it. And so I talk to a lot of people, and they, when I mention it, they mention VAs or, they mention hiring someone on Fiverr or, all those different Upwork, whatever it may be. And I always say, hey, Dezign Assist is different in the sense that we actually vet that person. We make sure they have all the qualifications that you need, and then we actually integrate them into your team. So they become another member of your team. You think of them as essentially one of your team members. So,
and when you say, it's funny because I just want to clarify, it's not that you're in design for 5 years. It's for 5 years that you've been integrating outside vetted design professionals through your business. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So yeah. And just to back up, like the way Dezign Assist or kind of the way this concept, came to be was in Alder and Tweed, and everybody listening to this podcast is going to totally relate to this. During the pandemic, we got, and I don't think anyone saw it coming, but we got inundated with people who wanted to do projects.
Right.
Like everyone was sitting at home and they just needed something to do. And we just couldn't tackle it. And then you try to hire, and everyone literally is hiring at that time. So that was virtually impossible.
Right.
And so and so like, as I was trying to figure out how to like solve that problem, and obviously like you can turn clients down, but I hate to turn repeat clients down who are coming to us. So like I wanted to service them. But as I was thinking about that, I was like, okay, like we have this unbelievable team already. What if I could just support our current team members with remote staff and take some of the busy work off of their plate, allowing them to be more creative and to take on more jobs.
Nice.
And so that's kind of, that's how Dezign Assist started, or using remote staff started. And so, as I researched it, I thought, well, if they can be remote, theoretically, they can be anywhere in the world. Initially, my brain went to, well, I could hire anywhere in the country, but I was like, well, why can't I just hire them anywhere in the world as long as they're qualified, right?
Right.
So I did some research and I found that in the Philippines, you've got this like great workforce, extremely well educated, and they speak excellent English.
Mm.
And so, as I did more research, I kind of on a whim went over to the Philippines and I was like, I got to figure this out. I got to try this out, see if this will work or not.
You
Yeah.
actually went there.
Yeah. Kind of crazy and a crazy time to do it. But, you know, I get these harebrained ideas for better or for worse. And, I just figured, let's give it a whirl and see if if it'll work.
And so my understanding of it, at least when we talked about this originally, is that, like these are design professionals in the Philippines. Like, in other words,
Right.
these aren't people that one day they will, be a VA for an interior designer, and the next day they could be a VA for a cupcake
Right.
store. You have like, so let me just back up. So, first, you went to find your own remote workforce of
Right.
qualified design professionals, and you found a hub in the Philippines of
Right.
these
Right.
professionals that were
Yeah. Yeah.
looking for work and happy to work and yada, yada. And then you put them to work, and like you said, they've worked for you in your own interior design firm for 5
Right.
years. But then at
Yes.
some point, the light bulb's like, wait a minute, not just
Yeah.
me, other
Exactly.
people. And so
Yeah.
then you became another business called Design Assist.
Exactly. No, you're
Okay.
exactly right. And I,
Okay.
I, I just determined it works so well for us. And you're right. I had that light bulb moment. Like I was like, we got to make this available to other designers because it just
Yes.
makes sense. And it's an easy way for people to scale their
Right.
firm or their business or whatever they're doing. To back up a little bit. So yeah, I mean, kind of the way it started is I went to the Philippines. And I hired an HR person who kind of specialized in interior design. She actually still works for me. And I just said, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. I started with two. I said, I want your two best people. And I just want to see how this works. And she specializes in the design field. And so, and kind of the orders I gave her, the marching orders was, hey, I want them to at least have a 4-year design degree and I
Okay.
want them to have 4 years of industry experience.
Okay. So
And so
that's not little credentials. That's,
no,
yeah.
extremely well qualified. And so she got to work and she found me two people. And I said, okay, let's try this out. And I put them under two of my teams here in Alder and Tweed. And I gave them, like I said, I kind of gave them those marching orders. I want this, what we call a remote junior designer, to kind of take on some of the busy work or the stuff that bogs my top people down.
Right.
And I'm talking like CAD work, putting furniture or finish schedules together, vendor outreach, putting presentations together, all that stuff that is important, but it takes a lot of time. And so I said, hey, yeah, let's do that and see what happens. And I gave it 2 months, and after about 2 months, it was like those teams were just thriving. They were taking on more
Wow.
projects. Not only were they taking on more projects, but the senior was actually happier because she was able to spend more time in the creative and less time behind a computer.
Right. 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 Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
everybody wants to do that. They want to
oh yeah,
do the creative part. Like, it's 80% administrative and 20% creative, but everybody wants to do 80% creative, and it's hard to do that, right?
totally. Totally. And
Yes.
honestly, in retrospect, before I did this, I was, the highest paid people in my company were spending, way too much time behind a computer.
Right.
Um,
It's like they were doing 10 and $100 an hour jobs instead of
yeah,
$1,000 and
e-
$10,000 an
e-
hour
e-
jobs. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's awesome. And so the thing about it is too, is because listen, I'm sure you've come across it. I've come across it. Design firm or owners who have trained a VA from non-design background
Yeah.
to do a lot of their what we call this administrative computer back end work. But I can imagine how much better everything is if that person also has all of this experience and qualifications, because there's that shorthand between design
Yeah.
professionals, right?
Oh, absolutely. And, and
Yeah.
and again, we've done it long enough that we've kind of learned what we need to look for, and we vet them, and we've narrowed down what a good design assistant looks like, or what a good remote junior looks like, and so we
Right.
take that kind of that part of it out of it to make it successful for the people we place and the clients we place them with.
And so now at this point, just for clarification for me,
Yeah.
this is now you have started a new company with its
Right.
new incorporation and all the things, and
Yep.
it's not just, hey, I'm giving you a lead to some HR person in the Philippines. Now you
Right.
are gathering these professionals, vetting them, interviewing them, overseeing, I guess, their minimum training that they get before you place them
Yeah.
with other firms. Is that how this is working now,
Th-
Reed?
Yeah, no, no, you're exactly right. And to kind of continue off the story, like fast forward, 5 years, I now have 20 on my staff at Alder and Tweed, remote people, and I have them under
Personally, not
I,
on Design Assist, but
that's
under Alder and
that's under
Tweed.
Alder and Tweed interior design.
Holy
So I put them
crow.
under every single senior. I have some seniors that have two,
Wow.
just because it's worked so well and they've loved it. So like I have like 4 or 5 teams that are like, hey, can I have another? It's just made a lot of sense for them. So
Wow.
to lead into what you were saying, like we're sitting there, we had that light bulb moment, and we're like, hey, like we need to make this. And honestly, to add one more detail, out of the 20 I've had on, I've had two turnover in 5 years, which is
Oh, whoa.
it's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yes.
And I think out of the two we had turnover, I think one got pregnant and just decided she was going to stop working. And I think honestly, the other was a dud, which you're going to get with staffing. Um, it
But 1 out of
happens.
20 is really a nice record for interviewing skills and qualifying, I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So, and I
yeah,
think it's that way because my people here in the States like love it. Like they love working with their remote team member, and also because we've understand how to work with our people overseas, so they're happy and they feel fulfilled, and we pay above industry standard over there, just
right,
so they
right,
can supply a good lifestyle for themselves and for
right,
retention.
right. Now, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I hear that currently all of your seniors in
Hmm.
Alder and Tweed are thrilled, and there's some that are asking for a second assistant. But
Yes.
was it from the beginning like, I'm imagining somebody out there listening and they're going to go to their senior and say, hey, I'm going to get you an assistant. It's one thing somebody listening who they are the chief cook and bottle washer and
Right.
they're going to just make their life easier by hiring a design assist VA. Like that's a
Yep.
no-brainer. They're listening, they make the decisions. But for somebody that has team members like you,
Right.
was there any like weirdness where they're like, what are you talking about? How am I going to work with somebody from the Philippines? This is creative work. We got to be in the same room. We got to handle the
Yeah.
samples. Like, was there weirdness or did it just flow?
No, I think in all honesty there was a little concern at first, but I think look, what COVID proved to us is that we can all work remotely. Like we had to learn
Mm.
how to do that. And
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah. You were
I
doing it
think
pretty much anyway, even if the person was in the same town for X
exactly.
amount of time. I got it.
Yeah, so I think at
Yeah,
first there was a little bit of concern, but I think it just they figured it out really quickly and just how to work together and
yeah,
a good working cadence, and they just fell in love with it.
yeah.
So,
And I got to think that for your existing seniors, to be paired with someone who is qualified and vetted where they are starting with that shorthand like they know like listen, I have a VA agency that I use for my businesses and we have
yeah,
multiple of them that we hired,
sure.
and I am aware that as I referred them to interior designers that they can within their agency scout somebody that might have some overlapping skill set that could be applied to the design industry. But that's very different than a 4-year degree and 4 years experience.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely.
Completely different animal,
Yeah,
right?
no, we've put a lot of time and effort. My HR person over there that we hired, 5 years, it kind of was my first hire over there. She's put a lot of time and effort in working with the local schools and just the local, ASAD brand, all that stuff to
Wow.
to make sure we've got the contacts and we're getting the best people. Um,
So you said you have 20 that are employed
uh-huh.
by your design firm. How many are VAs are available at Design Assist? Like, is it like, this podcast, I'm going to show quite a few designers here,
Yeah,
Reed. So
yeah,
you're not going to run out of VAs, are you? I mean,
yeah.
what is your capacity? Is it just like, hey, is there like, I guess really, but what I'm saying is we don't need to know the numbers because that's not it's not relevant to know. But is there generally a wait? That's really what I should ask. If I'm interested and I'm listening, is
Right.
there sometimes a wait for a match because of the capacity of what you've got available to you?
There can be. We have a decent sized staffing pool. We try not to grow it too big because we want to make sure we're delivering quality and we're vetting them properly. So in many cases, we can find them someone relatively quickly. In some cases, there is a slight wait, and I
Okay.
would say at most, you're probably looking at about a month, would be my
Oh,
guess.
well, it could
Yeah.
take you a month to go through the hiring process for crying out loud in the
I,
regular way.
you're exactly right.
By the time
Yeah.
you go back and forth and you set up the appointment and you email and then you have the interview and then you have the testing and blah, blah, blah,
Oh,
blah.
yeah. Oh,
Right.
totally.
Right. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and we've got a pretty good flow, and it's a pretty easy and seamless process when someone calls us. Essentially what happens is someone says, "Hey, I'm interested." We just get on a call and we assess their needs, and we understand kind of like what they're looking for, and then we come back to them with candidates that they can interview, that we feel like meet those needs.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
they and then we hop on an interview call, and they get to ask the
Right.
questions they want to ask. They get to go through their resume and just make sure they feel like it's a good fit and they're jiving.
Right. And then is it like a typical VA agency? Like my my money as the firm owner goes to Design Assist and then you're paying the VAs. Is that
That
correct,
that
right?
yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's
Yes.
exactly how
Mm.
it works. And what we do is we place them with you, and then we have, for every like 15 to 20 we place, we actually have an HR person who stands behind them, and their sole job is to make sure that you're feeling good about things, that the design assistant's feeling good about, and that everyone's happy. And so
Okay.
they're reaching out on a normal basis, and they're just there for quality control, essentially.
Yeah. No, and
Yeah.
I have to say, with the VA company that I use, that is not specific to the design industry, obviously. That's a thing that's nice to know. That
Right.
look, I can have a hard conversation with anybody all day long if I want to and I need to, but it's
Oh,
nice to
totally.
know that like I can go to the official thing and be like, this is
Yeah.
the thing that's happening. It's a good thing. It's a bad thing. We need to adjust the thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
all
And
right. Well,
honestly,
that's
we've had great success and haven't had a ton of need, but we still have that layer there. But
yeah.
I would say we've been doing this for about a year now. We've placed about 50,
Wow.
nationwide, and we've had one turnover. We've had
Wow.
one turnover, and just wasn't a good fit,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
crazy. But I mean, it's been great. People have
And
been
that's a good
thrilled.
question. If somebody takes somebody on, and of course they take them on because after the interview they feel like they're a good fit,
Yeah,
is there a window of 30 or 60 days? And is there like is there a minimum, like, do
right.
you have to
Like a
pay?
commitment.
Yeah, like that, right.
So we have a contract that we, obviously we execute with our clients. In that contract, it says with 30 days notice, you can get out. So essentially your commitment is 1 month.
Right.
Yeah. So it's
Okay.
really, and honestly, the reason we do that is because we know it works. And
Yeah. Yeah.
we
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
once they get in with a firm, that they're going to be happy and it's going to work for them.
Okay. And I'm in the weeds, but these are where my brain
That's
goes.
okay.
So there's a 30-day
Yeah.
commitment. But if I'm 2 weeks into it, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just not loving Susie. We're not talking
Right.
the same language. She's driving me crazy. Can I have a different one? Like, is that a thing, or do I have to like stick it out and blah, blah, blah?
No, we would make
You
that.
would work with it.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You know what it is? I think back to when I was younger and I was not nearly as skilled at interviewing and vetting potential employees.
Yeah.
There was a time where did what the first mistake we all do. We hire the person that we think is going to be our friend and we're going to get along with. And
Yeah.
then
That's
you're like,
true.
oh, now we have two of us that don't do any details. This is crazy, but let's talk. You
Yeah.
know what I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Like, we can chat all afternoon, but neither of us are getting anything done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you learn that the hard way. It's like,
Oh, sure.
oh, you need the person opposite
Yeah.
you. You're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
interviewing a friend to go to lunch with, right?
Yeah. No,
And so,
absolutely.
and I have to say, even now, after hiring people for 40 plus years, it is one of the most difficult things to do for me personally,
Sure.
is to hire for a different skill set
Right.
and a different personality type that is so different than my own, because
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
no point in having two squirrels in the same cage, because that's ridiculous.
Yep.
So I need well organized, highly detailed, data driven people around me. But then I have to struggle with I have made the mistake and overcorrected and been like, well, this person is so quiet and so thoughtful and so this that they're
Yeah.
going to be perfect. And I'm like, yeah, but now I can't communicate. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
terrified every time I open my lunatic mouth and I'm
Yeah.
screaming at the top of my lungs. And so, it's a dance learning to interview and vet
Absolutely.
properly.
Hiring's hard. Hiring is extremely hard. And yeah, I'm still learning that, to be honest. But I think with Design Assist, we've tried to make it a little bit easier and make it so that we can vet and find these candidates, and you hop on a quick interview call to make sure you feel good about it, and we can get you going from there.
Yeah. Well, and I have to say, having used the same VA agency,
Yeah, yeah.
that does come in because when I work with my account person,
Right.
he will say to me, "LuAnn, I know exactly." Like I will. One time, I can remember very distinctly interviewing 3 people in a row for a position. So 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes,
Sure.
and he sits in the background with his camera off. But listens to the interview.
Yeah.
And it was funny because, and I appreciated it when it was done. I was like, I gotta say, there's no one here that's not right, but I'm
Yeah.
not feeling like anyone is right. And what I really appreciated was he was like, "LuAnn, I hear you." He said,
Yep.
"I think any one of these people will be qualified, but you just need a little bit more energy coming back when you communicate with somebody. I've come
Right.
to learn you now." And I'm like,
Right.
"Yay,
Right.
thank you."
Yeah.
So it's nice when you work through. So Design Assist, that I love this idea because you can develop that relationship with your company. Me, Sally Smith Designer, can develop that relationship with you, Design Assist. And then you start to understand what makes me tick, right? And what kind of
Yep.
design person will best assist me, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, look,
Yeah.
we've had multiple people or firms come back to us and hire, we have one firm that has four.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we've kind of figured out their cadence and what they're
Yep.
looking for, and we've been able, and we've been able to find them good fits every time, and they've just been thrilled. And we have multiple firms who just have multiple people.
That's great. Now,
So,
how does it work with the compensation? Is it set by you? Is it like, do we have to because I know with the agency I work with,
right.
it's set. Like this is, if you
Yep.
pick this person, this is their rate, this person, this is their rate. Are there
Right.
different rates based on their experience? Is it one rate because you have a minimum experience that you're
Right.
requiring? How does all that work, Reed?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So we have essentially two options. So you have a full-time person who
Okay.
is $2,100 a month, and that they're working 40 working hours.
That's a
Um,
great deal.
yeah, and I think that equates to like 12.50 an hour. And the nice thing is like that's your out the door. So like you're not having to worry about like a bit of
Taxes and
insurance or
FICA
payroll
and all that
taxes or
crap.
any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to worry
Yeah.
about that.
That's a
And it's just,
final top number, top and
yeah,
bottom number. It's the whole
uh,
thing all in.
yeah, and then for accounting purposes, that's essentially an expense on your books.
Right, 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 right.
And then a part-time person, which is 20 hours a week, is 12.50 a month.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
So,
easy. So I don't have to think about that stuff. And those are reasonable rates. And what they probably are is as reasonable as they are to us if you're listening in the US.
yep.
It's probably a really nice rate for the Philippines, right? It's a very respectful earning
Oh,
that they're
it's
making there. It's probably 2 or 3
absolutely.
times what they could get if they were
We
working for a firm in the Philippines, right?
Yeah, we pay above industry standard. We
Yeah.
want them to be able to provide a good lifestyle for themselves. And the other thing is like these people actually work from home. We vet them to make sure they've got, proper equipment, proper computer and all that. But then they don't have to commute, which is a huge deal to them. Like,
Mm.
the commutes over there are crazy. And so it's kind of a win-win for
Yeah.
everyone. It's
Yeah, yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah. No, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's like, it's not about, it's just about if it's a win-win, period. Like you
Yeah.
got to get your brain out of certain things. It's so funny because we just had a similar conversation at WindowWorks at a sales meeting. And we have a client that has a house in Florida and a house in New Jersey.
Right.
And, she was getting window treatments at her house in Florida. And that the sales team, they're saying to me, I'm not sure what to do because she got shutters in Florida and she's wanted a quote for shutters here. And it was like 2.5 times the price here
Oh
in New
yeah.
Jersey. And
Sure.
she's just like, why should that be? And I'm like, well, why don't you ask her what her $3 million home in Florida would cost in New Jersey? Why
Yeah.
don't you do that?
Oh
Because
yeah,
that
yeah.
$3 million home in Florida is going to be about 10 million here. So
Yeah.
it's not just our blinds that cost more money.
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah, yeah.
everything, right?
You're
And
exactly
so,
right.
so it's all relative is the point. And
Totally.
it's nice to know that someone is making not just market level, but above market level for where
Right.
they live and what they bring back to their family is decent, not even just decent, but good money, right?
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, that's why we've had the retention we've had.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We pay well and we treat our people well.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And so then how are things handled? Like, are they entitled to certain holidays that you definitely as an employer have to understand these are the set holidays that they're going to
Right.
get regardless of your holiday schedule?
Yep. Yep.
How does all that work?
Yeah, so the one they have one main holiday over there, which is kind of like the Holy Week.
Okay.
That's the one main holiday that's a really big deal, and we honor that. And it's not the entire week; it's like Thursday and Friday, and then they go into the weekend for that. So that's the one major holiday that we honor. Other than that, they align on the other major holidays like Christmas,
Okay.
etc.
Hmm.
But they just work our holidays outside of that Holy Week.
Oh,
So
okay.
just to keep schedules aligned, and
Okay.
they're thrilled with that, and that works well.
Okay, good. Okay,
Yeah,
good. And
yeah,
then one of the other things that occurs to me is if somebody wants to bonus
uh huh.
a VA that they have through you, does the entire bonus go to that VA, or is it like how does that work? Has anybody ever asked you that? I don't even know if anybody ever
I've
asked
honestly I've never been asked that, but yes, uh,
I can
it
tell
would
by
just,
your face. You're like, "What?"
it would just be passed through. Yeah, the entire thing would make it back to them.
It might not be something that you've thought about, but I have to tell you that the VA agency that I use
Yeah,
does
yeah,
do that. And
sure.
so, of course, the agency is getting something and the employee is getting something. There's no question.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if I want a bonus, it goes directly to that person in its entirety, which is
Ab-
nice.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, maybe you'll put that in your
yeah,
SOPs.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I guess the next thing I think is important to do is to cover. You alluded to some of the types of work that these design assists
Yep.
are able to do, but let's
Yeah,
get
yeah.
into a little bit more in the weeds on the type of skills that they do in your firm and that they can do in others.
Right. Yeah, yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, so I kind of talked about we got into CAD drawings,
Hmm.
whether that be furniture, space planning, or whether that be elevations, tile placement, etc. Any of that stuff, they can tackle. Renderings is very common in the Philippines in terms of like using SketchUp with like an Inkscape plugin, so they can tackle stuff like that.
Okay.
My seniors, and everyone uses them a little differently, but my seniors even have them help with like putting presentations together, in the sense that my seniors are doing the creative, but sometimes my seniors want to do like kind of a, for lack of a better term, a quick and dirty presentation where they'll just kind of drag you know what they want into their presentation, and then the remote person or the remote junior, or with Design Assist, the design assistant would go back through and clean it up and make it look pretty and make sure everything's lined up and all that, and
Okay.
so
That
on and so.
that's valuable, right? It's like I
Oh
got all
yeah,
my ideas in there. Now you make it look presentable.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So
'Cause that's weeds, like, designers could spend time in the, "Oh, that little line, and let me this." It's like, "Okay,
it's
move on."
there. Look, I've learned, and there's a whole art to that. So like,
Yeah, and it's important when it's
it
done
is
well, especially if you're a high-end firm, like, you can't
right.
it's like having, a maitre d' at a fine restaurant in jeans and a T-shirt. It's like, "Meh, it might be cute at the
Yeah,
beach, but not here," right?
yeah, yeah, and at the end of the day, we're helping the clients make their spaces look pretty, and so like, I think our work should be reflective of that, right? To create some confidence.
Pretty
So
much.
yeah,
So that's good. That's interesting too because to know that your seniors will allow your design assist juniors to do that, that says
yeah,
something because that is that senior's reputation, that is that senior's pride. When that senior is the one to present that presentation, they're
right,
not thinking, oh, that's not quite right. So that says a lot actually.
yeah, no, absolutely. So
Yeah.
and yeah, and that's been extremely helpful, and some of the other things to give you an idea, like, FF&E sourcing, I wouldn't say we're having them source an entire project, but if there's a reselection or, something's out of stock, like we trust them to go to other vendors and find like items.
Mm.
They're very good at that. Any vendor coordination, if there's questions as to, lead times or, There's questions as, let's say a project you've already ordered, you're just trying to track when it's shipped, or, what freight carrier, just trying to see when it's going to arrive. They can do all that stuff, you know,
Okay.
and that,
Okay.
that, that also talks to like the tools like we empower our design assistants with that make it easier for them to do their job. So like to give you an idea, we operate in Google, but
Okay.
Microsoft and a lot of these others have the same tools. We go as far as giving our people a Google Voice phone number so they can actually make outbound calls. And they can
Oh,
call our vendors, and they can get on the phones and tackle all that type of stuff. So,
okay. Okay.
so we had a senior who actually did this today. Like they had a project coming up that was going to be installed in 3 weeks. And they just said, hey, I just need to know the status of every single item, all the furniture pieces, to make sure we're tracking and everything's going to be pulled off successfully and we're not going to have any issues. So can you hit the phones, go through my project spreadsheet, call the vendors, call the freight carriers, just see how everything's going, and just make sure everything's doing good. And so they'll just start tackling that.
And that's incredibly time consuming, right? It's
Absolutely.
like you don't need your senior designer like spending 3.5 hours, 2 mornings a week doing phone calls, right?
Yeah, and it goes back to, and this is going to be redundant, but in retrospect, I had my highest paid people, my most important people in my company making those calls before I did this, which is crazy. You
Well,
know,
it's only crazy in hindsight, right? Like
it,
at the time,
it,
it felt like it was an important thing that needed to be done.
yeah, and it does, and it leads to the success of a project. But I want my senior being more creative. I want my senior out doing things that make us more profitable and
Yeah.
taking on more projects, stuff like that.
Yes, yes,
So
no. It's well, that's the catch-22 of it. It is incredibly important, and I like the idea of a design professional doing it, right?
right,
Because if I'm a VA and one day I work for a tire store and the next day I work for a design firm, I might just like go down the list and be like, no answer. Oh,
yeah,
okay. Well, they said in 2 weeks. Well, wait, in 2 weeks, what? Like, you know what I'm
yeah, yeah,
saying? Whereas somebody who's a designer doing it in service of their counterpart who's a designer, they
yep,
understand what is the important part of this part that I need to get done, not
yeah,
just completing the task and saying, check, I left a message. It's like,
yep.
no, this project is imminently being delivered. So I got to really, I just know the urgency is different if you actually have done the work and you know what is involved, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why we specifically look for, we only bring on interior designers because they know the industry, they know what it takes, they understand it. Again, like you mentioned VAs, and we've had a lot of people, like I've said, who have tried to hire VAs, and it's like you're talking different, languages.
Yeah. And you
It's
can
just
be successful, but it's more hit and miss, right? It's
right.
lucky as opposed to these are literally designers looking to be VAs. This is a different story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a different story altogether. It's funny because even at WindowWorks, I would tell you about every 6 months, some conversation comes up
Yep.
between what an installer needs or is doing versus what a salesperson needs or is doing, or versus what a showroom administrator is doing or needing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everybody's point of view is always spot on for their point of view.
Sure.
And I'm always like, but see, now, installer, you have to answer the phone for 3 hours. You need to understand what
Yeah.
happens
Yeah.
to your showroom coordinator when
Yeah.
you don't show up for an installation on time and you didn't call anybody. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
it's like, because we can get a call at the office like, hey, you know what, your
Yeah. Yeah.
installer was supposed to be here between 1 and 1:30. It's 1:45. Where
Yep.
are they now?
Oh
Thankfully
yeah.
that doesn't happen a lot, but it happens. And then you get the installer and they're like, oh yeah, man, sorry, I just like got done lunch and I'm on my way, or I was sitting in
Yeah.
traffic. And you're like, what part of like
Yeah. Oh
you
yeah.
should tell somebody, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
let me tell
Yeah.
you what, you sit that installer in that administrator's chair for just 3 hours and let him answer the phone, whole
Yeah.
different being out there. Now he's
Oh,
like,
for
hey, just
sure.
want to let you know I'm on my way and I'm leaving now and I'm coming back and I'm doing
Yeah.
this, and it's the same thing with
Yeah.
salespeople. They're like,
Definitely.
there's sometimes I look at the instructions that salespeople give and I'm like, really? Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
22 windows in this house and it's just like bedroom two? Like, come on. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what
Yeah.
is bedroom two?
My dad, in his main career, he used to work with Walmart. They used to sell stuff to Walmart. And he always told me Walmart has a program called Eat What You Cook, which is essentially
Uh,
kind of what you're talking about, where they put the buyers in the store or they put the vendors in the store, and they have to kind of work that store level to understand, like,
yep,
when they, what goes on at that level, and when they make
that's right.
decisions, how those are executed at that level. And, so,
It's the truth. It
oh,
always
yeah,
is helpful, right? Like I can remember 100 years ago,
right.
it seemed like every window treatment company from Durasol to Verisol, what you call it, from Verisol to Louver Drape, and then Hunter Douglas
Yeah,
came
yeah,
on the scene. And I'm going back to the 80s now, and the
yeah.
sample books would come out, and I would be like, sweet Jesus, can the
Yeah.
person who designs the sample book have to carry it up and back and forth from the driveway to the front
Yeah.
door in high heels in the rain? Just one time. Just
Oh,
one
yeah.
time, because they would make these books, and that I remember the first book we got in the 80s. It was a triangle hardcover book, and it weighed about 15 pounds. And when
Oh,
you carried it, it
yeah.
banged your calf
Yeah.
every single step. And otherwise, you're like sitting there trying to hold it out with your shoulder, and
Yeah.
it's 15 pounds and you're 100 pounds soaking
Yeah,
wet.
yeah.
And you're just like, this is ridiculous. And then all of a sudden, after 5 years, they came out and they were straight. I'm like, ah. See,
There you
somebody
go.
has a brain on their head. What's
Yeah.
with the triangle book? We don't need this, right?
Yeah, that is funny. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like you got to do what somebody else does. And that's really, I think,
Oh,
the
for
secret
sure.
sauce of Design
Yeah.
Assist, that
Yes.
these people, are they men and women, or is it all women? Like, is it,
No,
not that it matters.
it's
I'm just
both.
curious. Yeah,
It's
right.
it's it's men and women. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that these men and women do what you do. They do what designers do, and they understand it. And I think it's interesting, Reed, and commendable, that I think there could be an argument where somebody could say, hey, just having a 4-year degree is
Yeah.
qualify enough. But it's not. It's this transfer. I've done what you've done, and
Yes.
now I'm going to help you do it, because it's not theory for them.
Right. Right. And honestly, that I think that resonates a lot. And you're exactly right. Like, and this is kind of, a cheesy way to say it, but Design Assist was, created by designers for designers, right? And so, like,
Right, right.
we're not some startup trying to prove a concept. Like, we've already proven the concept. We know it works. And we know,
Yeah, yeah.
we've worked the kinks out, and we're implementing that with you and Design Assist.
Yeah. What I love is, to your point, that you have 20 of them employed in your own interior design firm, and the process, how
Yep.
to onboard them. And if somebody's having a difficulty and figuring out that, I'm sure you're there to swoop in and help and oversee that, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, you're
Yeah.
exactly right. And just to give you an idea of, like, one thing we learned, like when we originally hired, when we started this, we had we said, hey, you need to work our hours. You need to work our schedules, and it was working, but we found over about a year our people were starting to get burned out. And so we said, okay, well, what would work better for you? And we learned that they would work crossover hours. So, like, in Mountain Standard Time, they work from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. or to
Okay.
3 p.m. I think I'm doing the math right, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, yeah. So, allowing enough time for our teams to cross over and collaborate real time, but also allowing them to get to bed at a somewhat decent time, and feel rested and re-energized for the next day.
And also, the whole point of them being able to have an opportunity to make a good living is to enjoy that
Yeah.
good living, right?
Yes.
And so, if
Absolutely.
they're working when the whole world is sleeping, and they're sleeping when their whole world is working, it's not going to be so fun, right?
Right. Right. No, you're
So,
exactly right. But it's good because, yeah, with those crossover hours, my teams are constantly hopping on, Zoom calls, or they're chatting back and forth all day. And so you've got that time where teams are collaborating and be able to communicate and discuss, you know, they may say, jump on, hey, let's discuss that layout you did and let's go through it. And, I noticed that rug was a 10 by 14. It's a little big. Let's go with a 9 by 12. And then real time, they're fixing that and throwing it in the chat. And my team's
yeah.
coming back and saying, oh, that looks much better. Can you plug it in the presentation? So it's great.
I love it. I love
Yeah,
it. It's
yeah.
so good. I mean, I'm trying to think if there's anything, if I were considering working with Dezign Assist, if I've left off the table with any questions. I feel like we've covered compensation, we've covered hours, we've covered holidays, we've covered time zones, we've covered skill set,
Yep.
with support with you guys, with the HR support
Right.
and so forth, and the, support with the interviewing process, which is
Yep.
helpful. I guess the last thing is just how do they get a Dezign Assist assistant?
Yeah. Well, before that, I think the other thing I'm going to throw in is everyone's concern, being that they're in the Philippines, is English. Is there going to be a
Ah,
problem with that, or how that works? And so, what people don't realize is the Philippines really focuses on English, and you actually have to master the English language to graduate grade school. So
oh,
there, and we also vet and make sure their English is impeccable, not just grammar, but also pronunciation, to make sure nothing gets lost in translation. So
right.
that has not been a problem at all.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
That's good to know. Yeah. And so
So
that's a culture thing in the Philippines that they place a priority on
yes,
as a country and a culture to learn English. It's not like you're just finding the ones that know how to speak English.
it's a culture thing. It's
Yeah.
important,
Yeah.
and it's part of their grade school,
Right, right,
essentially.
right, right. Yeah. Oh, that's
So
awesome. That's good to
yeah,
know.
it is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because my VAs are from Venezuela.
Uh huh.
And so that's not the case for Venezuela. But,
Yeah.
and I've had some that are better or worse at English, but never anyone that wasn't at the level that I felt like it impacted our communication.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So, it's, I think it's important that it's part of the offering that you, that doesn't need to be a stumbling block. You don't have to expect to be like, wait, what did you say?
Yeah.
And of
Yeah.
course,
Yeah.
if you want to learn English, just be my VA and be on the other end of my Voxer because it's like 60,000 messages, and I'm just like, okay, this is how this is going to roll.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might have to listen to it 3 times and play it on slow speed, but hey, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It was funny because I remember when I was in high school, I
Yeah.
was an exchange student to Germany. So this is a complete
Okay.
departure, but just telling you a story
That's
about
okay.
English,
I
right?
like it. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So I was an exchange student to Germany. And the thing was, in high school, I took French and Spanish. And so I
Okay.
applied first to go to Spain. And my second choice was France. And then my
Yeah. Yeah.
third choice was Germany. And of course, I got placed in Germany. And so I get there, and, German isn't anything like French or Spanish or
No,
Italian.
not at
It's
all.
kind of at its roots, some of it's like English, but it sounds so incredibly different that you don't even realize the root is the same until you see the spelling of it, right?
Yeah.
And I am there, and there is a girl there. I go there. I am 16, and the
Yeah.
girl there is 15. And then there was I could call them my sisters or my brothers. My sister was 15. My brother was 13, and the little one, Moni, was 11. And Barbara, who was the 15-year-old, she spoke like that high school English. Like, I've learned it from a book and this is how we speak,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the father, Sigbert, he spoke like business English. I can communicate with you if I
Yeah.
really stretch my brain, and he
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
struggled to find words. Moody, the mother, Doris, not a blasted word, not one word. And then the little kids got a little bit in school, but they were little kids and they were afraid to try it. And I know not a stick of German. And so we do this thing where for like 2 or 3 weeks, first Barbara is translating everything for about a week. And then finally I'm like,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is silly. I got to learn German, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No talking to me in anything but German. And I think we lasted 25 minutes. I'm like, oh, just tell me what you're trying to say. Right.
Yeah.
And then, and it was not going to work. Right. But what was funny was, I guess by the third week, I
Yeah.
completely unrelated to my attempt to learn German, was
Yeah.
we had a conversation where I said to her, why did you and your family want an exchange student from the US?
Uh-huh.
And Barbara at the time was already speaking 5 languages. And she said, I know I want an international job. I think it's going to be in the airline industry. And she said, and I know it's critical that I know more than book English, that I know English
Oh, okay.
down. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, oh, well, then heck with this German stuff. I'm just going to
Yeah.
rattle at you 24/7. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And so I ended up learning Ich will ein Bier, Ich bin mood and ich liebe dich. I love you. I'm tired and I want a beer. That's
Yeah.
it for my German.
And she learned
But
English. So
she
yeah.
did. And let me tell you
Yeah.
what, she went on to be an air traffic controller.
Oh, yeah. That's funny.
But it's nice when when you have vetted the people and the barrier is not the language and that you can get right to work is really what I'm hearing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, love it. So what do? We go to
So
designassist.com, right?
So design, and
But
it's design with a Z.
right.
So DEZIGN,
And then it's
assist.com.
assist.com/start. Do we want the start there on it?
Yeah.
Or I
So if
see
you
that
go
on my notes.
/start, essentially it's going to take you to a calendar where you can just book a call with us.
Okay.
And we can explain it further. We can understand your needs. And again, they're like, if you book a call, like you're not tied to anything. But we're going to, like I said, we're going to understand your needs. And then we're going to present you with people who we think would fit those needs and be a good fit for you and your team. And then, the last step would be you actually get to interview them and make sure it feels good and you jive. And if you're feeling good about it, then we integrate them into your team and they become your team member.
That's
So,
amazing. I mean, in a month from now, you could have relief. You could have help.
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, absolutely.
Like Peter's just like, I can breathe. I can take a breath. Go to my kid's soccer game while somebody is doing all that other work.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, you're exactly right. And at Design Edge, which was in Orange County, which I just got back from the show that you were at. One thing that a lot of people mentioned was like, there's kind of this, like when you're kind of a sole proprietor and you're a one-man team, like there's this concern about scaling because, to scale that next level to get another person, it's a $60,000 to $80,000 commitment, to hire someone. And they were like, well, with this, I can scale and not have that added stress. And maybe like you were saying, like, take stuff off my plate. Let me go to the soccer game. Let me enjoy my evenings. Let me, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's the big thing for solos, right?
right.
They're doing everything and everything matters and balls get dropped because it's a tremendous amount of work and detail. And
Totally.
I'm a huge believer of get the jobs off your plate that you have no business doing. Like
Right.
literally. Just I mean I'm a delegator to a fault. I'm a really good delegator. Like I'm like literally say to my husband 3 times a week, "Why are you doing that? Like why are you like?" He's like, "Well, who's going to do it?" I'm like, "There's 20 people that work for us that are supposed to do that and would love to do it. They don't even know you need them to do it."
Yeah. No, absolutely.
We have great people between the 3 companies, and I'm like, just let them do their job, So
yeah, use our people. Absolutely. They could book a call, or you could just email us, which is hello@designassist, again with a Z, DEZIGN.com.
This has been great. It was fun catching up with you. I'm glad that I get to run into you and your parents and your sister around the country every couple of months. That's also fun. But I just think this is a slam dunk, this business that you've got going. And I'm so happy for you that you're making it available to all of your colleagues.
Absolutely. No, this has been great. And let's not wait another 10 years to do another one. It's fun to catch up.
I just love when we get to have conversations like this, real solutions from real business owners solving real problems. Reed didn't set out to start a staffing company. He set out to solve a bottleneck in his own design firm during the pandemic, just like many of us had to. He couldn't hire fast enough, couldn't say yes to every client, and didn't want to sacrifice quality or team morale or projects. So he innovated, and then he scaled that solution, because that's what entrepreneurs do. And if you're running a larger firm, this is where Dezign Assist becomes a powerful tool for you. Reed built this team to support the production-heavy work that bogs down every and most talented in-house designers, right? Things like the CAD drawings, FF&E spec sheets, vendor communications, purchase orders, rendering, install prep, you name it. These are qualified professionals who understand the design process and are trained to plug into your existing system with very little ramp up. When you think about the cost of hiring, onboarding, and retaining full-time employees, not to mention the burnout that can happen when your team is constantly operating at full capacity, this is a smart, scalable alternative. You gain flexibility, you increase your bandwidth, you reduce turnover. That's what Reed has created. And the fact that his turnover rate is almost zero, that tells me everything I need to know. He's not just finding talent, he's building relationships. That is the kind of leadership and integrity that every business needs. Now, you might be a solo design firm or a smaller one, and you may intentionally want to stay small, and this is perfectly valid. But that doesn't mean you don't deserve support. In fact, that's exactly why you need to think strategically about your time and the people around you. You've heard me say this for years. Your very, 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 very first business hire after your bookkeeper should be the people at your home, right? The housekeeper, the lawn service, the online grocery ordering and delivering, the carpool swaps with your kids' friends. Those are the repeating weekly tasks that eat up your bandwidth to put into your business. So when you outsource them, you're not being indulgent. You're buying back your time and energy and headspace so that you can show up stronger in your business in those beginning years, right? Your time is better spent in your business, and you can hire easily for those positions typically. Then, once those are all filled, and you start to feel the squeeze again because your business is expanding a little bit, that's when Reed could step in. That's when hiring a qualified virtual design assistant, someone trained in our industry, can be the exact next right move. It's not just about getting help. It's about creating capacity so that you can manage your projects, your home life, all the things. That's a practical way to grow your business without having to grow your in-house team, right? Which I know a lot of people don't want to do. So here's the hard truth. If you're doing work that does not require you, your highest level skill set, then you're not leading effectively. When the wrong tasks stay on the wrong desk, your business suffers, your team suffers, your clients suffer, you suffer. Dezign Assist gives you a way to delegate with confidence, to embed skilled professionals into your workflow without the overhead and the responsibility of full-time hires. So if this conversation sparks something in you, if you're starting to see the possibility of doing better work with better support and building a business that's sustainable, go take a closer look. Visit Dezign Assist's website today. Go to designassist.com. It's DEZIGN assist.com. The bottom line, whether you're a solo interior designer or one who is leading a growing team, this sounds like to me it could be the strategic support you've been needing. And I'll tell you, if you go to High Point this October 2025 or anytime in the future, you can always stop by the Alder and Tweed Furniture Showroom in the C&D building. Typically, and especially for October 2025, Reed and the Dezign Assist team will be set up in there, and I'm certain he'd love to know that you heard his episode on the podcast, and I bet he'd love the chance to tell you a little bit more about Dezign Assist. So Reed, thanks tons for joining me again today. I appreciate you. And thank you for showing up. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnNigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.